Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Beyond World is One. This is Speed News. Let's get started. Ukraine claims it destroyed Russian bombers worth at least $7 billion in Operation Spider Web. Ukrainian President Zelensky said that 117 drones were used in the unprecedented attack on military aircraft in Russia. Zelensky added that one of the locations from which the attack was prepared in Russia was right next to the office of the Russian security services. Ukraine carried out one of the largest drone attacks on Russia on Sunday as part of operation named Spider's Web that involved months of meticulous planning and the covert transport of drones into Russian territory. Russia-Ukraine peace talks are scheduled to take place in Istanbul today. Hours from now, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and US Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke over the phone on Sunday, in which Rubio reiterated President Donald Trump's push for direct talks between Russia and Ukraine in order to achieve a lasting peace. After keeping the world guessing on whether Ukraine would even turn up for the second round, President Volodymyr Zelensky said Defense Minister Rustem Umerov would meet with Russian officials in Istanbul. The Russian delegation will be headed by Kremlin aide Vladimir Medinsky, who after the first round invoked French general and statesman Napoleon to assert that war and negotiations should always be conducted at the same time.
Stay.
With FBI probing targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, Mohammed Suleiman has been identified as the suspect in the attack. According to authorities, Suleiman allegedly used a makeshift flamethrower and threw Molotov cocktails at a crowd participating in a peaceful pro-Israel demonstration near the Pearl Street Mall. At least 6 people were injured in the attack. Witnesses reported hearing him shout "Free Palestine" during the incident. Following an 8-month deployment to the U.S. 5th and 6th Fleet areas of operations, the flagship of the Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group returned to its home port of Norfolk, Virginia on the 1st of June. The Truman Strike Group saw sustained combat in the Red Sea and North Africa region over an 8-month deployment. In February, the carrier's air wing struck targets inside Somalia, targeting ISIS leadership in the region. For roughly 5 months, the carrier struck targets in Yemen while fending off drone and missile attacks from Houthi rebels. One person was killed. 11 others were injured after at least 80 shots were fired in North Carolina's Hickory. Investigators told WSOC that at least one suspect started firing during a house party that hosted about 100 guests. According to witnesses who spoke to the outlet, many of the party goers attended nearby high schools. According to a news statement, the Catawba County Sheriff's Office and the Hickory Police Department responded to a report of multiple persons shot at a residence on Walnut Acres DR, which is located in the Mountain View community of southeast Catawba County. A day after US envoy Steve Witkoff called Hamas' latest proposal totally unacceptable, Hamas said that it is ready for new indirect talks with Israel to solve key issues in a ceasefire and hostage deal. Hamas said it wants the talks to settle points of contention and move closer to ending the war in Gaza. Hamas had earlier said it wanted the deal to include a rule that would stop Israel from attacking again after the 60-day ceasefire. More than 30 people were killed, 170 were injured after Israeli soldiers fired on people trying to collect food at an aid distribution site in Rafah. And this is according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Residents and medics said Israeli soldiers fired from the ground at a crane nearby that overlooked the area. And a tank opened fire at thousands of people who were en route to the aid distribution site. Israel denies involvement. In a statement, Israel's military said an initial inquiry indicated that soldiers had not fired on civilians while they were near or within the aid distribution site. The Israeli military released drone footage it said was shot on Sunday, apparently in daylight in the southern city of Khan Yunis. The drone footage showed that what the IDF said were masked armed men firing at civilians trying to collect aid. Statement by the IDF said, and I quote from it, Hamas is doing everything in its power to prevent the successful distribution of food in Gaza. UK government announced it will increase the size of its nuclear-powered attack submarine fleet ahead of Strategic Defence Review meetings. The Strategic Defence Review will call for UK's armed forces to move to a state of warfighting readiness, spelling out changing security threats and which defence technologies are needed to counter them. UK Defence Minister in a statement said the country will build up to 12 of its next-generation attack submarines, which are nuclear-powered but carry conventional non-nuclear weapons to replace the current fleet of 7 from the late 2030s. Two people died and over 192 were injured in Paris following a victory parade by fans of PSG on Sunday. The French club beat Inter Milan 5-0 to win the Champions League, completing a treble. As fans of PSG celebrated the victory, French police arrested 559 people following clashes. According to the French Interior Ministry, a 17-year-old was stabbed to death during a gathering to celebrate the Parisians' victory, while a woman riding a scooter died after she was hit by a car in the southwest of Paris. Flares, fireworks, torched cars and smashed bus shelters marked a chaotic night in Paris. Conservative Karol Nawrocki has won Poland's weekend presidential runoff election according to the final vote count. Nawrocki won 50.89% of votes in a tight race against Liberal Warsaw Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski, who won 49.11%. While Poland's parliament holds most power, the president can veto legislation. Mexico held its first ever judicial elections on Sunday. Polls closed and poll workers began counting colored ballots on Sunday evening, with the question hanging in the air of what will become of Mexico's judiciary, the answer to which will only emerge in the coming days as results roll in. While some voters said they felt pushed to vote in an election they felt would determine the fate of the country's democracy, many more expressed a deep sense of apathy, citing disillusionment due to decades of corruption and lack of basic information about the vote. China said it firmly rejects claims by the United States that it had violated a deal struck last month to lower crippling tariffs between the world's two largest economies, terming US claims as bogus charges. China said US unreasonably accused China of violating the consensus, which is seriously contrary to the facts. South Korean presidential candidate Kim Moon-soo held a rally in front of supporters in Seoul on Sunday, 2 days out from a snap election triggered by the former president's removal after his disastrous declaration of martial law. Kim from the Conservative Power Party PPP is currently trailing Liberal Lee Jae-myung in all major polls. India's active COVID-19 caseload has touched the mark of 3,900, while 28 deaths have been attributed to the infection since January. This is according to data shared by the Health Ministry. A total of 363 new COVID cases were recorded in last 24 hours, with Kerala, Maharashtra and Delhi emerging as the worst affected. At least 2 deaths were reported in the past 24 hours. In Karnataka, a 63-year-old man who was diagnosed with pulmonary TB tested positive for COVID-19 and died. In Kerala, a 24-year-old woman with COVID-19 hypertension and chronic liver disease also succumbed. The overall rise in new cases has been sharp. From just 257 active cases on the 22nd of May, the count jumped to 1,010 just 4 days after that. With 1,400 currently active cases, Kerala is among the worst hit states. In Arunachal Pradesh, at least 9 people have lost their lives in separate rain-related incidents since May 29th. A high-risk warning has been issued in West and East Kameng and East Siang over the next 24 hours. Issuing an advisory urging residents to stay indoors, Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju stated that Arunachal Pradesh has recorded the heaviest monsoon rains in the world this year. In Manipur, around 1,500 people from Imphal East and West have been rescued in a joint operation led by the Assam Rifles, the Army and fire officials. Torrential rains over the past few days have led to a massive breach of the Imphal River's embankment at 4 points, resulting in extensive flooding in Imphal East. In Sikkim, thousands of tourists are stranded in Lachen and Lachong areas of the state's Mangan district. The tourists remain stuck due to landslides caused by rains. Restoration efforts are currently underway on the Phidang Bailey Bridge after it sustained partial damage caused by the strong current of the Testa River. The US dollar edged lower, giving back some of its gains from last week as markets weighed the outlook for President Donald Trump's tariff policy and its potential to constrict growth and unleash inflation. The greenback starts the week on the back foot after Trump said that he plans to double duties on imported steel and aluminium to 50% from Wednesday. The US currency has been whipsawed for weeks by Trump's on-again, off-again trade war, falling when a flare-up in tensions stokes worries of a potential US recession. The dollar has also been weighed down by fiscal worries in recent weeks amid a broad Sell America theme that has seen dollar assets from stocks to treasury bonds dropping. Oil prices rebounded more than $1 a barrel after producer group OPEC Plus decided to increase output in July by the same amount as it did in each of the prior 2 months. For markets, that came as a relief as traders expected a bigger increase. Brent crude futures climbed $1.34 or 2.13% to $64.12 a barrel. US oil trades over $62 a barrel after rising over 2.5% in early deals. Looking ahead, Goldman Sachs analysts anticipate OPEC Plus will implement a final 0.41 million BPD production increase in August. Global airlines shaved a key forecast for 2025 industry-wide profits, blaming trade tensions and declining consumer confidence, while hitting out at unacceptable delays in jetliner deliveries that have hindered their growth plans. The IATA industry body now expects global airlines to post a combined profit to $36 billion this year, and that's down slightly from a previous forecast of $36.6 billion in December. Experts say Trump's sweeping tariffs have stoked fears of an economic slowdown and squeezed discretionary spending, prompting many consumers, especially in the United States, to delay or scale back travel plans.